I am in shock. I am in shock. The Indiana Fever just beat the Aces. The first win for the Indiana Fever against the Las Vegas Aces since I was 22 years old. Aces MVP to refs, Fever's MVP, and Alyssa Smith. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Imagine this, you're the reigning MVP, you've carried your team through championships, you've got the spotlight, the accolades, the respect, but then one night a young scrappy underdog walks into your house, takes your throne, and exposes your team for what it has become: soft, disconnected, and desperate for the benefit of whistles just to stay afloat. That's not fiction. That's exactly what happened when the Indiana Fever, without their superstar Caitlin Clark, stormed into Las Vegas and sent shockwaves through the entire basketball world. Or 27-point humiliation, a legacy shaken, a dirty play caught on camera, and a new WNBA hierarchy kicking down the door. This is not just a game recap, this is a reckoning. This is war. Las Vegas Aces were supposed to be untouchable. Let's not forget, this is the team everyone expected to dominate the league for years. MVPs, superstars, a culture of winning. Becky Hammon on the sideline, A'ja Wilson leading the charge, Chelsea Gray facilitating the offense, Kelsey Plum lighting up the scoreboard. This team had it all, but cracks had been forming quietly beneath the surface. A chemistry issue here, a slump. Their questions about who was showing up when it mattered most. Enter the Indiana Fever. No. Pause and think for a second. This Fever team hadn't beaten the Aces in 16 straight tries. 16, that's over for seasons of pain, losses, and humiliation. The Aces had swept the floor with them every time, and nobody thought this matchup would be any different, especially with Caitlin Clark sidelined. Without her, most thought the Fever were walking into a slaughterhouse. Science, they unleashed a masterclass in team basketball, so ruthless, so stunning, that it felt like we were watching a passing of the torch in real time. Let's rewind. Tip-off happens, first quarter starts, everyone's expecting the Aces to go on a tear and put this thing away early, but instead it's Indiana who comes out swinging. 6 quick points, relentless defense, clean execution, confidence dripping from every pass, every screen, every cut. Be the end of the first, they're up 21-14, and something's off with Las Vegas. You can feel it. The body language is slumped, the rotations are slow, the offensive rhythm is broken. A'ja Wilson is trying to do everything herself, and no one else is stepping up. Chelsea Gray missing, Kelsey Plum cold, Jackie Young out of sync. Still, it's early, championship teams bounce back, right? But then came the second quarter, and that's when the Fever stepped on the Aces throughout, outscoring the Aces 25-10. The Fever hit a staggering (818% from the field). That's not a typo, that's domination. Every possession was surgical. They were getting to the paint at, well, 6 for 6 inside. Las Vegas 3 of -13. That quarter alone deflated the Aces' swagger like a popped balloon. By halftime, it's 46-20 for the crowd is quiet, and the Aces, they look stunned, beaten, not physically, mental. No, let's talk about the moment that broke the basketball internet. Lexi Hall, a grinder, a blue-collar player, the kind who never asks for headlines, just puts in the work. She boxes out A'ja Wilson with textbook form, clean positioning, arms, wide hips set. She secures the rebound, and then A'ja Wilson barrels in from behind, not beside her, not around her, from over her head. Wraps an arm over, holes back. Should have been an easy call. Every kid who's played basketball knows that's an over-the-back foul. Clear as day, but the whistle doesn't blow for a foul. Nope, the refs call a jump ball. moment that jump ball was called, you could feel the collective gasp ripple through the basketball community. Broadcasters stumbled over their words, fans leapt to social media raging with disbelief. Coaches on the sideline looked ready to explode, and Lexi Hull, she just stood there, hands in the air, stunned, like a student getting penalized for doing her homework. To well, foul was obvious. There was nothing 50-50 about it. One player made a clean basketball play, the other climbed over her back like a ladder and got rewarded for it. This wasn't just a blown call, it was a symbol, because for far too long there's been this undercurrent in the WNBA. Unspoken bias that certain stars, certain teams get preferential treatment. A'ja Wilson is a phenomenal player. Let's be clear, no one's denying her talent, but that night she wasn't just playing against the Indiana Fever, she had the referees tucked into her jersey like an extra layer of armor. You want stats? Let's talk stats. A'ja Wilson finished with 29 points. Sounds impressive, right? Until you look closer. She went 9 of -18 from the field, respectable, but 11 of her 29 points came from the free throw line. 11 she took, just for fewer free throws than the entire Indiana Fever roster, and that right there tells you everything. Whistle Wilson. Some fans started calling her online free throw merchant, protected superstar, and maybe those words are harsh, maybe they cross a line, but when the game tilts on bad officiating, when players like Lexi Hull do everything right and still get punished, people stop caring about politeness. Stephanie White, didn't the Fever's head coach, had enough with 535 left in the fourth quarter. She exploded on the sideline. The cameras caught it. No more controlled coaching, no more quiet professionalism. She let it rip. Every ounce of frustration poured out in a torrent of anger. She got hit with a technical, but in that moment, she wasn't just a coach, she was a voice for every player in that locker room who'd ever been told to stay quiet and keep playing. Again, Caitlin Clark, even from the bench, injured and unavailable, she saw what was happening and loved it. She stood up clapping, fired up, her voice joining the roar. That's leadership, that's culture, and that's how you turn bad officiating into full. But here's the beautiful part, here's where the script flips. Indiana Fever didn't let it rattle them. They didn't crumble under injustice. They didn't spend the next 5 minutes jawing at the refs. Instead, they locked in. They turned the jump ball into a statement. You're not gonna stop us. He took the whistle, they took the disrespect, and they turned it into pure destruction. From that moment on, the Aces were finished. Fever's defense morphed into something terrifying. They swarmed the perimeter, they closed down every passing lane, they turned every possession into a war zone, and the Aces, this star-studded powerhouse, they folded. Let's put this in perspective. Las Vegas scored 7 points in the entire fourth quarter, 7 for a WNBA championship contender. That isn't just bad, that's catastrophic. That's an identity crisis wrapped in a scoreboard. A'ja Wilson, for all her free throws, could only watch as her teammates disappeared. Chelsea Gray, one of the supposed veterans, the floor general, the leader, finished with 2 points to 1 of 3 from the field, 5 turnovers and 2 assists. Let that sink in. More turnovers than points and assists combined. This is the player WNBA insiders claimed was better than Caitlin Clark, and maybe she was once, but that night she looked like she was playing through quicksand, slow, disoriented, lost. Meanwhile, on the Fever bench, Clark, injured, sidelined, was on her feet, cheering, leading, lighting up every big play with her energy. You could see her shouting encouragement, waving towels, rallying her squad. She wasn't putting up numbers, but she was still adding value, something the Aces couldn't find from anyone not named Wilson. And speaking of value, let's talk about the real heroes of the night. Lexi Mitchell, ice in her veins, she dropped a 25 piece on the Aces like she was delivering a care package from the heavens. Daggers from 3 crossovers, drives, assists. She never took her foot off the gas. Of Boston, she was feasting 20 points, 7 rebounds, and the way she muscled through A'ja Wilson in the paint, that wasn't just scoring, that was psychological warfare. She made Wilson look ordinary, like a player without answers. Natasha Howard, the Commissioner's Cup MVP, delivered again, 11 points, 10 rebounds, steady hands, veteran poise. She did all the dirty work, the boxing out, the second chance efforts, the hustle plays, and let her teammates shinning. Then there's Lexi Hull. No, she didn't put up 30, but she might have had the most important game of her career. She stood her ground. She took the foul that wasn't called, and instead of unraveling, she anchored court, the defense shut down Las Vegas runs and kept her team focused. Let's give her flowers that women deserve. So what makes this story so compelling isn't just the upset, it's the symbolism. This game represented a shift, a transfer of power, a reminder that reputations don't win games, execution does. For years, the WNBA's elite got away with being elite, relying on history and hype, but the Fever exposed something deeper. They didn't just beat Las Vegas, they revealed that Las Vegas has no plan when the whistle doesn't come, when the bench goes cold, when the MVP is doing it all and no one else shows up. What's left hand? That's why this blowout meant more than a win. It meant hope for Indiana, for underdogs, for every team that's tired of being overlooked. Remember, the Fever were supposed to be rebuilding a team of rookies, young talent, and a single superstar in Caitlin Clark. They weren't supposed to beat the best, they weren't supposed to win. Without Herbert here, they are dismantling champions, redefining themselves, sending a message with every bucket, every defensive stop, every fearless rebound message: we're done waiting. By the time the final buzzer sounded, the scoreboard read 81-54, but that number didn't capture what had happened on the court. It didn't reflect the humiliation, the emotional unraveling, or the brutal way the Aces were picked apart by a team they hadn't taken seriously. The Indiana Fever didn't just win. They dismantled a dynasty, they flipped the script. They stormed into enemy territory and said, "This is our league now." And the WNBA? It felt different in that moment. The old order had cracked. Now let's slow down and digest what this game truly meant, not just as a one-off win, but as a sign of evolution. Because the Indiana Fever, in a span of just a few weeks, have gone from being viewed as Caitlin Clark's solo stage to a genuine, balanced, frighteningly complete team. People said the Fever were nothing without Caitlin, that their rise was artificial, that Clark was carrying them. And yes, Caitlin is a generational talent. Yes, her arrival brought eyeballs, sold out arenas, and unprecedented buzz. But this one proves something bigger. This team isn't just about one player anymore. They're about unity, growth, resilience. They found their rhythm. And ironically, they found it without the very player the media had crowned as their savior. Because this game didn't belong to Clark. It belonged to Mitchell, Boston, Howard, Hall, and yes, even Stephanie White, who unleashed every ounce of frustration on those refs and then rallied her team to ignore the noise and finish strong. It was a team win, and it showed in the numbers. Let's look closer. 24 assists on 31 made shots. That's chemistry. 28-10 paint domination in the first half alone. That's grit. Holding the Aces to 26% shooting and forcing 17 turnovers. That's defense on a string. No one player doing everything, everyone doing something. That's a championship formula. Compare that to the Aces. Asia Wilson, 29 points, yes, but mostly at the line. The rest of the roster, a combined 7 FOR for 3. From the field, that's 16.3% shooting. No player besides Wilson scored more than 6 points. Chelsea Gray, the so-called leader, ended the night with 2 points and 5 turnovers. So ask yourself this: how does a championship team collapse that hard? How does a multi-time MVP play hero ball while her teammates disappear? How does the coaching staff watch their team get outworked, outplayed, and outcoached and do nothing to stop the bleeding? It's not just a bad game, it's an identity crisis, and you could see it on their faces. The body language, the slumped shoulders, the silence on the bench. That's not a team losing a game. That's a team realizing they're no longer untouchable. Now juxtapose that with Caitlin Clark on the Fever bench. She wasn't playing. She couldn't help on the scoreboard, but she didn't sulk. She didn't disappear. She stood, clapped, screamed, encouraged. She was the emotional engine. You could see her eyes tracking every possession, coaching from the sideline, fueling every player on the court. And that's why this team is scary, because now they know they can win without her. Now how they believe and that belief. That's the most dangerous thing in sports, because when a young team starts trusting each other, starts knowing that every player on that court has their back, something shifts. Games slow down, confidence builds, mistakes shrink. Momentum becomes culture. The Fever didn't just win a game that night. They leveled up. Let's go back to the moment that sparked it all. The non-call on Lexi Hall. The jump ball. The injustice. That moment could have shattered them. It could have confirmed all the doubts. Could have validated every critic who said they were too raw, too inexperienced, too dependent on whistles of their own. But instead, that call became a challenge. Prove you belong, even when they don't believe you do. And boy, did they answer. It's poetic. Really. That a moment of officiating failure so clearly wrong it had fans yelling at their TVs became the spark that fueled one of the most dominant team performances of the season. That's storybook stuff. That's how legends begin. And speaking of legends, Aja Wilson, despite the criticism, remains one of the WNBA's best. But she's now surrounded by questions. Not about her individual talent, but about whether the Aces have built the right pieces around her. Can she trust her teammates? Can the coaching staff adapt? Can the team rediscover its identity before it's too late? Because right now, they look like they've lost the blueprint. And if the Aces are supposed to be the standard, then the league's new rising power just called them out on it and sent them home packing. Now let's fast forward. Let's imagine what happens when Caitlin Clark returns. Think about it. A team that just rooted the defending champs without her. A defense that now looks like a playoff brick wall. A rotation full of scorers, leaders, and emerging stars. A locker room brimming with belief. Now add Caitlin back into the mix. Fresh, hungry, vengeful, watching every play, learning, adjusting. Ready to light the league on fire when her number's called again. This is no longer just about a superstar rookie. This is about a team that might be peaking at just the right time. The Indiana Fever are no longer a sideshow to Clark stardom. They're the story now. And the WNBA? It's changed. The balance of power has shifted. The Aces are no longer invincible. The league's most feared dynasty just got humbled on national television by a team everyone counted out. This is the kind of game you remember. The kind players circle. The kind fans rewatch. The kind coaches show in film rooms with the words, "This is how you win with heart." And you know what? It's just the beginning. To the Indiana Fever. You earned this, not because of who was missing, but because of who showed up. To the Las Vegas Aces. Consider yourselves on notice. The league has caught up. Your whistles won't save you anymore. To every fan who thought this would be a blowout. In the other direction, welcome to the new WNBA. Balanced, fearless, and hungry for blood. And to every team watching from the sidelines, take notes, because the Indiana Fever just dropped a blueprint, and the rest of the league better learn fast or get left in the dust. If you felt the energy of this story, subscribe to the channel. This season is far from over, and if this game proved anything, it's that we're just getting started. Let us know in the comments, was this the game that changed everything? Because